So from nothing, a light emerges into being, a light that guides and illuminates, a light that calls us out of darkness, a light given, a light shared, a light we protect. Let us call ourselves to order. So we are gathered together on this day to celebrate the intellectual and labor powers of candidates who seek a degree award and to graduate. It is a time of reflection, a time of joy, a time to acknowledge the gifts and abilities of all members of our community, and especially to recognize the work and advancements of our degree and certificate candidates. The Global Center for Advanced Studies welcomes all minds and bodies on the planet to come together to speak truth, to find courage, to refine our intellectual curiosities bound together by our common commitment to peace, truth, and justice. And now we turn it over to Professor Rocky Gangle, who has a few words.
Hi, everyone. Greetings. I'm unable to see most of you on my screen, so I'll have to trust that you are there. First of all, I just wanted to welcome you all and to congratulate the graduates. GCAS has turned, I believe, 8 years old just recently. In that relatively short time, it has gone through several different permutations, a variety of locations. It has moved across the globe from Colorado in the United States to Slovenia, to New York, to Ireland. Chancellor Davis is now in Mexico City. We've met in France several times. We've had events all over the world. And I think that the main thread of that narrative, of that story, has been a constant commitment to intellectual achievement, intellectual freedom, and the institution itself has grown and has had to move, has had to break its ties with some institutions in order to preserve its integrity, its freedom, and to make the kinds of work that the graduates today have produced possible. And so I think the main thing I want to say is how much I have appreciated being part of an institution that I think truly exhibits the virtue of intellectual camaraderie. And I just wanted to quickly remember all of those individuals across the years and centuries who have shared the commitment to intellectual achievement and intellectual production, research, inquiry, and have often had to do so under tremendous pressure and tremendous persecution. And I think of the great Czech phenomenologist Jan Patočka, who after the uprisings in Czechoslovakia in the late 1960s, was banned from teaching in the early 70s under the Soviet order, but continued to teach in a clandestine way, offering seminars on Plato and the idea of Europe in his apartment to a generation of students who, many of whom participated in the Charter 77 movement and the Solidarity movement. I think of the Indian economist and legal scholar Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, who was born a Dalit, an untouchable in central India. And despite all of the obstacles set up for people of that caste, he went on to become educated, to receive multiple doctorates, and finally to be really the primary drafter of the Indian Constitution after World War II. Finally, I think of Pashtana Durrani, a contemporary young woman in Afghanistan who has founded the organization Learn, which is committed especially to bringing education and literacy to young Afghan women. She's currently in hiding. She elected to stay in Afghanistan, but has to basically travel from house to house in order to try to maintain this commitment to bringing education to young women in that country. And I bring up these examples not to compare our situation to theirs by any means, but to insist upon our solidarity with that kind of commitment to what it means to be a scholar and what it means to care about intellectual things, and also to celebrate our ability as the institution that we are to manifest, I think, this kind of intellectual commitment, and especially the camaraderie that it makes possible, that I really feel deeply what it has meant to share with you, those of you that I've worked with, and those of you who I only know through the institution itself, to feel that we are part of something that can continue this great process. You know, one of the truly great aspects of the human spirit, to move knowledge forward and understanding and to make it real in our world. So again, congratulations to the graduates. And I wish you the best as you continue in this process.
Professor Rocky Gangle. Now we proceed to the examination.
All right. So I call the Chancellor to stand for the examination.
I am present and prepared.
Chancellor, I recognize that you have brought before us today degree and certificate candidates. Do you affirm that all degree candidates herein recognized have met the rigorous requirements of the respective academic program or programs and are thus prepared to be bestowed with the honor of a degree or certificate from the Global Center for Advanced Studies, GCAS College Dublin?
I affirm and believe that all degree and certificate candidates herein recognized today have met or exceeded the academic requirements as determined by our community.
Chancellor, present the first candidate for degree award.
It's a great honor to present the candidates today, and so I proceed with presenting the first candidate. I present candidate for Masters of Arts degree award, Luke Roberts.
Are you, Luke Roberts, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
I am.
By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Luke Roberts a Master of Arts in Philosophy. So congratulations, Luke. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you. Yes. Hello, fellow GCASians. Thank you for the honor of completing a master's degree with this wonderful and unique school. I consider myself very fortunate to be able to pursue my academic interests in such an open, scholarly setting with so many brilliant and creative thinkers. I'd like to further express my gratitude to those individuals who have worked with me personally to start me on this thrilling journey through illuminating ideas and powerful perspectives. Thank you to Creston Davis, our beloved Chancellor, who champions each and every one of us by challenging our self-imposed limitations and inspiring us beyond their limits. Thank you for your unceasing encouragement, for your willingness to push and pull me through doubts and difficulty. Thank you for engaging me in my own thought and drawing out my voice, for always being passionately conversant as I tried to think through my own ideas and explore those of others. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you to Rocky Gangle, my professor and generous reader of my master's thesis, and now my PhD supervisor. Your kind receptivity for our ideas, your encouragement of our inquisitiveness and efforts to understand, your generosity with your time and brain power, your vast and formidable scholarship and clear understanding, your very rare talent for decoding for us seemingly impenetrable philosophies. I want to thank you for sharing with us these invaluable and singular gifts and for the reassurance and inspiration they provide. I'm so very excited to work with you on my doctoral studies and so very grateful for the opportunity. I'm fully aware of how rare it is to work with someone so capable and generous as you. Last, but certainly not least, I want to thank our community as a whole, this school of independent and passionate thinkers. Engaging with other students has been absolutely indispensable for my work and intellectual growth. In this vein, I want to thank Cade Levinson for his untiring dedication and excitement for ideas in the philosophical tradition, for his unfaltering willingness to challenge me and others with questions and subtle perspectives, for his intellectual honesty that compels him to subject himself to the same level of scrutiny and rigor, and for the hundreds of engaging hours we have spent sharpening our minds on the whetstones of Badiou and so many other philosophers and philosophies. Our conversations have greatly improved me as a thinker. Without GCAS, I would not have met Cade and the many others like him in our broad and diverse community. Seemingly miraculously and effortlessly, GCAS draws unique, interesting, creative, and extremely intelligent students. For this and the opportunity it provides, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for listening, and thank you for having me as a member of this community. And again, as always, thank you, Creston.
Thanks so much, Luke, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
So Chancellor Davis, please present the next candidate for the degree award.
It's a great honor to present the next candidate for Masters of Arts degree award, Dylan Lasky.
Are you, Dylan Lasky, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
I have no idea what you hit for safe driving now.
Dylan, are you there?
Hear me?
Dylan, can you say that again? I can hear your voice. It's low. I assume you affirm the commitment. Okay. Seems like his internet is a bit on the dodgy side. I guess
you might ask him to type it.
Oh yeah, Dylan, are you on the document? Some people are, like Mark was just typing. Anyway,
I cannot hear anyone else, but I'm not sure if you all can hear
There you
me
are.
or not.
Yes.
It cut out all of a sudden. But
So do you affirm
I
the
cannot
commitment?
hear Professor Gordon. I can see you speaking, but I can't hear you. Okay, I'm gonna leave the chat and see if I can come back. Sorry about that.
okay. Let's see if Dylan can get that, come back in, and we'll come back to Dylan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So present us with the next candidate, Chancellor.
Great, I will. It's a great honor to present the candidate for Bachelor's of Arts degree award, our first graduate of the BA program, Cade Levinson.
Are you, Cade Levinson, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
I affirm this commitment.
Wonderful. By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Cade Levinson a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. And Cade, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, please. First, I just want to express my gratitude for GCAS in general and everyone involved for this opportunity and what's been developed here. I kind of have a long history with educational institutions, and it's taken a long and winding road of sorts to find when I'm able to actually flourish in the way that I am here. And I very much wish the school and those involved great success in their further development. I find it to be a real bastion against the general tendency of the privatization and gamification of education, which has struck so much of the world, I think, in some of its most vulnerable spots. On an individual level, I would like to thank Preston for his advising throughout this degree. Has been absolutely invaluable. And I'd like to reflect as well my appreciation of the many hours spent with Luke, going over all the nitty gritty of some of the, I think, most rigorous philosophies we have to work with today. And none of it would be possible without the sort of structure set up here. by GCAS, which I'm much appreciative of. Thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations again.
Great. Let's do a sound check with Dylan.
Sure.
Dylan, let's do a sound check with you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I
Yes.
can.
I
Yeah.
don't know what happened. It was working perfectly. And then as soon as I spoke, all of your mics cut out. I couldn't hear anything anymore. And it's really weird.
Well, we're going to go through that again. So I'm going to present you as a degree candidate. And so here we go. I present the candidate of Masters of Arts Degree Award, Dylan Lasky.
So are you, Dylan Lasky, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
I affirm this commitment.
Fantastic. By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Dylan Lasky a Master of Arts in Philosophy. So congratulations, and would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, I'll be brief. I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to give a special thanks to Creston for being my supervisor through this process. I want to thank Professor Gordon for taking part in my thesis defense as a committee member, and for your insights and for all of your notes. It's very incredible to have you a part of that. To Professor Gangle for your professorship and your teaching, to all of my classmates, to Dr. Kostmeyer for reading through and participating in my midterm examinations. Really appreciated your notes and your support with that. Yeah, I just want to say that GCAS came to me at a time where I was very uncertain about my future right at the beginning of this pandemic. And I just couldn't have found a better place to spend a year doing my research and studying. I felt super embraced by the sort of radicality of this project and the openness of my thinking. Yeah, if I could do it all again, I would do it the same way. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Chancellor, please present the next candidate for a degree award.
I'm honored to present the candidate for Bachelor of Arts Degree Award, Alejandra Gabriel Corion.
Are you, Alejandra Gabriel Carrion, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
Yes, of course. I affirm this commitment.
By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Alejandra Gabriel Carrion a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy pending the successful defense of your BA thesis. So congratulations, and would you like to speak?
Thank you, Jane. I would like to thank my community first for always pushing me forward and towards myself. I would like to thank my territory, the material and spiritual support that frames my existence and allows it to experience itself. I would like to thank Francisco Gonzalez for his unconditional support and really radical and incendiary support. It's been amazing. I would like to thank my cohort for opening my mind to new ways of thinking these great questions and concepts we're dealing with. I would also like to be grateful for all the hardships that led me to this moment. I think I wouldn't savor it. I wouldn't treasure what I'm living right now if I haven't had all these difficulties. And last but obviously not least, I would like to thank Creston because I think that it's amazing what he's doing, and I'm so grateful for being a part of this. So thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations again. And
Congrats.
Chancellor, please present the next candidate for the degree award.
It's with honor to present the candidate for a Bachelor's of Arts Degree Award, Katarzyna Dybzinska.
Are you, Katarzyna Dybzinska, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
I affirm this commitment.
By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Katarzyna Dybzinska a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy pending the successful defense of your BA thesis. Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words?
I would love to thank not only for the knowledge that we have received during our program in GCAS, but especially for the sense of community, and special thanks to Creston for pursuing such a daring dream. It's been challenging, inspiring, but never boring. And I also would like to mention a quote that I think it's quite important for me at this moment from Aldo Leopold, who is a father of wildlife ecology, a conservationist, and the writer, who said, "To those devoid of imagination, a blank place on the map is a useless waste. To others, the most valuable part." And I think we should carefully balance between the known and unknown, not only when we draw the maps, but also in our education. So today, as we're graduating, I would like for us to celebrate as much the knowledge that we have received as its borders and limitations.
Fantastic, thank you. Chancellor, please present the next candidate for the degree award.
It's with great honor and pleasure to present the candidate for a Bachelor's of Arts degree, Christopher Michael Gutierrez.
Are you, Christopher Michael Gutierrez, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
Yes, of course, I affirm this commitment.
By the power vested in me, on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Christopher Michael Gutierrez a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy pending the successful defense of your BA thesis. Congratulations, and would you like to speak?
Thank you, Professor Gordon. I'll keep it brief. For everybody attending and seeing this virtual ceremony, thank you so much for seeing this. I am extremely humbled and honored to be part of the GCASian community. I especially want to thank Creston Davis for believing in me and my potential for my future. I want to thank Francisco Gonzalez Castro Pancho for having the patience to deal with me in my academic advising. To the BA MA cohort, it was fun, challenging, rigorous, but we made it. Thank you. To the greater GCAS community, I am eternally grateful for the scholarly companionship that we all share. To Ron Ati, thank you for your vast knowledge, your grateful mentorship, your unlimited love and support. And to the following people for supporting my thesis, to Nelly Ben-Nayum with the University Underground, to Abraham Neme with Close Magazine, to Guillermo Gomez Peña for La Pocha Nostra, and to Adrian Notes from the New Now School of Curating. And finally, and not least, to my mother, Angelica Bravo, and my brother, Steven and Anthony Gutierrez. Thank you, and thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you. Gracias.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Chancellor, please present the next candidate for the degree award.
It's with great honor and pleasure to present the next candidate for a Bachelor's of Arts degree, Enrique Hort.
Are you, Enrique Hort, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
Yes, I affirm this commitment.
Wonderful. By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Enrique Hort a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy pending the successful defense of your BA thesis. So congratulations, and please say a few words.
Thank you, Jane. I just briefly want to express how grateful I am for what GCAS does, and especially for providing the privilege to be able to complete the program from all over the world. And also congratulations to everyone that's graduating today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, and congratulations again. Chancellor, please present the next candidate for degree award.
It is with a great honor to present the next candidate for Bachelor's of Arts degree, Mark Orlovsky.
Are you, Mark Orlovsky, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
Yes, I affirm this commitment.
Terrific. By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Mark Orlovsky a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy pending the successful defense of your BA thesis. So congratulations, and please say a few words.
When I first encountered GCAS approximately 1 year ago, I was fleeing in resentment from my own freedom and attempted to drown out reality itself. That has changed. The people and ideas I have encountered while at GCAS have been inspiring and empowering. The GCAS community in general and Creston Davis in particular have my deepest admiration and deepest gratitude. Thank you.
Congratulations again. So Chancellor, please present the next candidate for a certificate award.
Great. It's with great honor to present the candidate for its certificate in philosophy and psychoanalysis, Skye McDade Byrne.
Are you, Skye McDade Byrne, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
Yes, I affirm this commitment.
Wonderful. By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Skye McDade Byrne certified in the GCAS Philosophy and Psychoanalysis program. Congratulations, Skye. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity to study with an incredible community of scholars, of thinkers from all over the world. It's been really fantastic. I think that one thing that I was really pleased about when I did this is that there was a real mixing of people from different courses. So I was on the certificate program, but I was studying alongside people who were doing MAs, PhDs, and BAs. And I think that's an example of what a lot of people have commented on in the openness that GCAS is running on. And also just the opportunity to pursue my own kind of interests in each module that I've studied. It's been really great to be able to take those ideas and also use them to further my own learning with help from the professors. So yeah, thank you to all of the teachers at GCAS who've obviously put so many hours of thought and work into all the modules that they've created. All of them have been really fantastic. So thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Chancellor, please present the next candidate for the certificate award.
It is with great pleasure to present the candidate for the certificate in philosophy and psychoanalysis, Benjamin Puente Schnick.
Are you, Benjamin Puente Schick, committed to speaking the truth and using your intellectual abilities for the benefit of humanity and all living things?
Yes, I affirm this commitment.
Fantastic. By the power vested in me on behalf of the GCAS community, I hereby pronounce Benjamin Puente Schick certified in the GCAS Philosophy and Psychoanalysis program. Congratulations, and please say a few words.
Thank you very much, Professor. First of all, I would like to congratulate all other graduates that have come before me. It's great to witness such creative and critical thinkers, particularly at a situation like this, and a joyous moment like this. And secondly, I would like to thank each one of you for your commitment to this project. And I think GCAS is a very nourishing environment for me, and I am looking forward to keep growing and challenging myself as part of such a community.
Wonderful, thank you. And again, congratulations. So here ends the degree and certificate award dimension of this ceremony.
Great, and now we move on to our keynote address, which will be delivered to us by our great and wonderful honorary president, Professor Dr. Louis Ricardo Gordon, who is a leading global intellectual, certainly the intellectual heir of Frantz Fanon. Beyond that, however, he speaks multiple languages and is really a diplomat and an ambassador for our mission. And many of you have worked intimately with Professor Louis R. Gordon, and it is with great pleasure to have him now deliver a keynote address for this ceremony. Professor Louis Ricardo Gordon.
Thank you, Chancellor Davis. Class of 2021, Hotep, shalom, assalamu alaikum, words for peace. But we can add vanakkam, which is another way of saying respect, or how you greet someone in Tamil. I could add to that Wanakisuk, which is Wampanoag. I'm speaking to you from New England, and it simply means good day, just as you would say bonjour, buenos dias, bom dia, etc. But as we know in many languages, there's so many ways people would meet each other. In Southern Africa, for instance, if you're among the Xhosa, you say Bolwedi, or if you're among the Zulu, you say Sawubona, which means I see you. And you could think about those many ways in which human beings will meet each other. From peace, makes you think about what it is to live in times of war, to good day, which means to think about the other, and to see you is to think about the other. We come today in a context in which this is a meeting of ancestors, contemporaries, and our aspirations for descendants. Among our ancestors is now Walter South, whom we love dearly. And among our ancestors are those many with whom you have studied who are no longer physically here, but through you, they continue. We also think through what it is to be in a world, of course, in which there are people who don't care about ancestors or descendants. And in that kind of world, we're in some deep trouble, because those are people who think their ending is the end of the world. But we don't all think in that way. And in a moment like this auspicious occasion, our community of higher learning gathers together to celebrate you and each other. I chose to speak in front right now. As you can see, there's this wonderful painting behind me by Sula Gordon, my daughter. And it's a painting of a family gathered around to eat. When you gather around, you talk, you share ideas. And many of us don't realize this, but one of the best places of learning is the dinner table or the lunch table or the kitchen counter. And this brings us to the importance of education. Because you see, education is something our species has been thinking about for millennia, more than 100,000 millennia. But let me read a quote to you from somebody who reflected on what this is about 4,000 years ago. His name was Antef, and he was from East Africa, Northeast Africa. And this is what Antef says. Antef says, "The seeker of wisdom is the one whose heart is informed about these things which would be otherwise ignored. The one who is clear-sighted when he or she is deep into a problem. The one who's moderate in his or her actions, who penetrates ancient writings, whose advice is sought to unravel complications, who is really wise, who instructed his or her own heart, who stays awake at night as he or she looks for the right paths, who surpasses what he or she accomplished yesterday, who is wiser than a sage." That's some serious wisdom, by the way, if you're going to be wiser than a sage. "Who brought himself or herself to wisdom, who asked for advice and sees to it that she or he is asked for advice." I speak through Antef because this is a context, as I said, of higher learning, right? The Global Center for Advanced Studies. Many of us don't realize this, but universities weren't always here. And in fact, the idea of the university, the singular, the one voice, actually comes out of Bologna, roughly about 1,200 years ago, maybe 1,100. But the main thing is that that's a more colonial model. You see, humanity has always understood not only the value of learning, but what it is to be in learning communities for thousands of years. Whether it's in the Indus Valley in Eastern Africa, or if we're going to deal with what was going on in Central America, the understanding is that education is something really, really crucial for our species. And although we're using the word education, which comes out of the Latin word educata and also edificia, which ultimately is like building an edifice or drawing out or growing, education is also about power. But it's not about power over, that's coercion, domination. Education is also about enabling. It's about power that enables others to be able to be empowered. Power simply means the ability to make things happen with access to the conditions of doing so. If you have that ability without those conditions, you might as well be stuck. Well, GCAS is about contributing in terms of a condition. And you're here today because that condition of possibility has been something you've been working with. And now we have the distinct pleasure, the distinct joy of being able to celebrate you now going out there with that condition of possibility for others. Now we do so in difficult times. That's old news. We know that we're in a period in which people are struggling for the proverbial breath of fresh air. And air is a condition of possibility, but air can also be metaphorical. Because as we know, if we are sufficiently disempowered, if it's claustrophobic enough, we asphyxiate. So for many of you, and for us, with this great privilege and joy of being able to work with you, this is a celebration of fresh air. And I noticed from some of the remarks of some of you who have been conferred your degrees today, you have hinted at that metaphor. Now, Jane and I came to GCAS in a meeting in Slovenia. We knew we were involved with GCAS before that, but the formal getting to meet everybody in person was in Slovenia. And the theme at the time was in addressing intellectual resistance. So you could already see that GCAS as a place of intellectual resistance and cultivation of dignity and freedom, that is something that we are embracing you and holding out our hands as well for you to continue in that journey. Now, when you do so, I want to bring up a little allegory. Years ago, whenever I'm giving public lectures, it's always great when there's a piano in the space or some musical instrument, and I would go over and play them. And there was one instance where I went over to play the piano, and my host stopped me and said, "Wait, it's not tuned." But my response was, "Oh, don't worry about it." So I started playing the piano, and it's playing jazz. And as we're going and the audience is gathering in, eventually they gathered and they clapped, and my hosts went over and they said, "I thought the piano was out of tune." And I looked at them and I said, "It is out of tune. Just because an instrument's out of tune doesn't mean you can't make music with it." Now, why do I bring up this story? Well, it's because, you see, you're participating in GCAS is not for you to become our clone. It's not for you to be able to perform only if you have an instrument that is fine-tuned. If that's all you could do, you're not educated. What we aspire to in this enterprise is for you to bring forth what you have to offer. And the reason you could make music, in this case metaphorically, is because ultimately what you bring to it enables it to become music. And so if you think about this question of learning, at this moment, this is a point of departure. And it's a point of departure as you continue to bring what you bring to this project. Because you see, somewhere along the way, you fell in love with learning. I think about Carl Sagan quite often these days, because he was the one who famously said, we live on this little blue dot in a cloud of dust in our galaxy. But it's our blue dot. And Carl Sagan said rather poetically that all the poets we've ever known, all the teachers we have ever known, all the scientists, all the everyday people, all the people who do everything from clean houses to build monuments, all the people who have even struggled for ideas have been in that little blue dot. And many of you know that our little blue dot is in jeopardy. It's not in jeopardy in the sense that the planet would be destroyed. What's in jeopardy is our relationship to it. And part of education is to understand the responsibility of that, of having that relationship. Now, some people will come up to you and talk about optimism, and some will talk about pessimism. But the thing to bear in mind is that both optimism and pessimism are naive. Because you see, at the end of the day, the big issue is going to be commitment. In other words, if you're committed to doing what you must do, which is already linked into what you, in all of your resources, are able to act on these conditions for, you're not thinking of the outcome before the performance. You're thinking about the performance that must be met. And many of you today did not in advance know that you would be here. You're part of that contingency, that moment of looking at what may have been an untuned instrument and learn while playing what music it can make. So, as is tradition, one offers some advice. Now, there are many things I could advise you about. Your advisors particularly have advised you in things, but one thing, there are many things, but I'd like you to remember one thing. Try to remember what made you fall in love with learning. And the reason I ask you to do this is because when you think it through, I would like you also to write a personal letter to yourself that you share with no one else, but you revisit annually. Because you see, when you write that letter down about why you fell in love with learning, it gives you an insight in that to which you would not only say yes when it's posed, but it also clarifies when you should properly say no. And that commitment, that question of learning, that is going to be your ongoing effort. Because you see, the world is full of people who receive certificates without education. There are a lot of certified individuals who are idiots in this world. But education matched with the certification creates those moments of empowerment that you could bring not only to your life, but to others. So I thank you, class of 2021, for joining my colleagues and me in our effort to set conditions of possibilities, not simply for what can be done, but also what needs to be done. We thank you for joining us in this journey, your commitment, and your fortitude. And with that, I close in those proverbial words that rang from those communities who stood up and resisted in Mozambique. A luta continua. The struggle continues, and for all of us today, there's the joy of it continuing with you among us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louis. I wish we could all clap and celebrate what you and Jane and others have done for GCAS. It's a gravitas.
Well, not necessary, Kristen. We're already overjoyed. We're receiving our gift by just being here.
So we can continue then with the ceremony. Having heard our story, thank you, Rocky, and having bestowed our worthy candidates with degrees, thank you, Professor Jane Gordon, we are reminded of our solemn responsibilities and as intellectuals to seek truth. And so together we remember all those who have struggled for the betterment of our humanity, for building up of knowledge and advancing that, for challenging the geography of reason, and there I'm echoing Lewis Gordon, for a more peaceful world. Today, we remember all those who have struggled for truth. Thank you, Rocky, for those examples that you've given. For those who have been injured or killed in the never-ending struggle to improve our conditions on this, our small planet. And so now I'm going to ask everyone to unmute themselves, because I'm going to ask you a question, and this is part of the ceremony. So everyone, if you won't mind, if you'd like to participate, you can unmute yourself. Do you, as the Global Center for Advanced Studies academic community, collectively commit to speaking truth and disseminating knowledge for the betterment of all living things?
We do.
Absolute, Mark. We do.
Yes, I do.
Totally.
We do.
We must.
Do you, as the Global Center for Advanced Studies academic community, collectively commit to supporting each other as best as we are each able to do?
We do.
We do. Yes,
we do.
Gladly.
Great, thank you. And so we now then conclude our ceremony with our motto, which in the Gaelic means out of the ashes, a new light.
Asluharach solus nua.
And so we go forth now into the world by the power of our community, being inspired by each other, the music that we each play, tuned or untuned, and the light that we have now kindled. May the light of truth guide us onward into the future and into the world unknown, a world that we make together as our community. And so we conclude now with a poem by our poet fellow, Katerina.
Thank you very much. So I read once that every poet actually writes only one poem and just tries to perfect it and whole life. So you write the same message over and over again till you get it right. So I guess for all of those of you who were a part of this program with me for the past year, you won't be surprised that my newest poem is a map. And it's Map of Eden. Once we began naming, we had to reach the point of map drawing. That's the true reason we left the garden, to fill the blank spots. We didn't realize maps work only if you are aware of your point of departure. The meaning of paradise came later. We ate the apple and became fertile with serpents of the roads. There were no borders, but we were uprooted. Exile taught us the limits of abundance, but there are no maps for return. Every cartographer has a secret. We kept the location of the tree of good and evil unknown, as that's what started the separation. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you all. It's been a wonderful journey, and thank you all again. And here then concludes our ceremony.